If you ever needed a reminder of how just one person can make a monumental impact, get ready to meet Spencer Sekyer and his friend Manno. Manno was a baby chimpanzee living in a zoo in Iraq when Sekyer, a teacher from Edmonton, first met him. That meeting would kickstart a 3-year rescue odyssey, including animal traffickers, war zones, even ISIS. Spencer Sekyer's travels have brought him into our studios this morning, and he joins us to share his story. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, this is such an incredible story. So tell us about how you first met Manno and what you were doing at the zoo in Iraq.
Well, I was in northern Iraq, an area called Kurdistan. I realized after teaching in various places that my true passion was helping animals. So I was in northern Iraq helping a doctor, Dr. Suleiman Tamir, with their stray dog situation in the Duhok area. And it just so happened that the hotel that I had just moved to was just a few steps down from the zoo. I'd met the zoo owner before because doctor had a call. And so I had my mornings free, so I just walked over one morning, and I think something got lost in translation because they didn't speak English that well, and I don't speak Kurdish. So I walk into this little confectionery store where this little baby chimpanzee's ripping apart, sunflower seeds, and he gets thrust into my arms. This is such a cool experience. So, I'm taking selfies for my students and whatnot. I said, this is pretty neat. And then I look around, no one else is left in the room. So I'm left alone with this chimpanzee. So that's a cool experience. I'll take this. So I spent my morning with Manno, and then I went back the next morning and the following morning. And then we just started to develop this bond. And wherever he would be in the zoo, he'd see me and come barreling over and jump into my arms. So it's kind of how this whole thing started.
And after that, you just couldn't leave him behind. So what was it that kept you going back?
Well, what a fabulous experience. And when you're so close to a primate, they are so human-like. They are so much like us. Beyond even, I would say, a step up from, say, even our animals that we love so much, our dogs and cats. And it was incredible. And then, however, when I left in the mornings, they would put Manno in a bird cage. So that didn't sit well. And then after discussion with the zoo owner, he was very forthright. And Manno had been trafficked from Africa. He'd been taken from Africa. And it just so happened that I had done, just visited different primate sanctuaries in my travels throughout Africa, and I knew what that entailed. So it's, okay, this isn't right. So especially the fact that he came from the wild. So I just went back to my hotel room, got online, and started reaching out to whoever I could think of to help Manno out of this situation.
And where's Manno now?
Manno has been successfully integrated, and he is in Sweetwater's Chimpanzee Sanctuary in Kenya. That Dr. Jane Goodall set that whole thing up, and it really has been a Disney ending.
Yeah, so you mentioned Jane Goodall. She factors into this. She wrote the foreword to your book. So how did you come across her?
Well, Jane was speaking in Edmonton at the Winspear Theatre. And so my wife got us tickets, and we stood in line to get our book signed like everybody else. So I'd practiced my 5-second FaceTime with her in front of the mirror. This is Manno. I took care of him in Iraq. And I'm not sure. I found out last night, I talked to Andrea, and she said, I thought this guy was a little bloop bloop. but Jane lit up right away, and then she put me in touch with her people. And as soon as Jane Goodall got involved, that's when things really started to roll. It still took 6 months after that. But once Jane had kind of attached herself to the project, we knew that this was going to have a positive outcome.
And what was that feeling like for you when you found out, hey, he's going to be transferred to this place where he's going to have a happy life?
Well, initially we were over the moon. But then, once we went back, so when I was there the first time, ISIS didn't even really have a moniker. They were just armed insurgents. But when I went back, the Battle of Mosul was raging, and Duhok is just a few kilometers away, so there was that whole element. And then to get Manno out of the war zone was not easy. And then there's the whole process of integration into the chimpanzee troops. It's not easy. So even once we got him there, I thought, okay, my job is done. And it was, but we still weren't out of the woods because they're wild animals. And, luckily, Jane bonded, the chimpanzee Jane bonded with Manno and kind of took him on as a surrogate, and it has ended very well.
It's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for the work that you do, too.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great to have you, Spencer. And you can read the rest of the story in the book. It is called Saving Manno.